Good morning, good morning. Still a little tingy? Okay. Should I just keep talking? Chatting. Talk. Check. So it is Father's Day today. That's not why I'm here. I am here. You're seeing a lot of me today. This is what happens when there's no Kurt, and there's no Riley, and there's no Hassan, and there's no Kyle. Is you get me a whole lot today. In fact, you're supposed to get me a little bit more, but I was supposed to do the announcements too, but luckily Brooke was able to do that very well, so we got to spread out a little bit more. Still a whole lot of Morita, but a little less Bryce. I know, right? So we have like Mother's Day, we did a little handout for the things that the kids said about their fathers. And there's definitely a lot of sweet, cute ones in here, but I'm not here for that. I'm here for the funny ones. And so the two that kind of stuck out to me was Elena No, saying, he's funny. He plays games with me like Clue, and he always wins. Good life lessons. And then Ian, because he's my dad, and without him, I would be the only boy in the family. Priorities from Ian. And so yes, it is Father's Day. I wrestled briefly with doing kind of a father-ish based lesson, but I was like, I don't want to force it. So I'm going to settle for some dad joking here and there. Starting off particularly with my title page. I actually have a title page today. Yeah. So if you like it, I asked Riley to put this together, gave him some instructions, and he gave me what I want. If you don't like it, that's on me, because Riley followed the instructions that I gave him. But yes, I finally have a title page. So Cup of Woe instead of Cup of Joe, because it's not a good dad joke if you don't have to explain it. See? It always makes it better when you have to explain it. Actually, I'm going to take the drink first before I do this, because it's kind of heavy. Yeah. So jumping right into it from here. Why does modern society seem to hate Christianity? They think of Christianity as judgmental. They think of Christianity as hateful. And realistically, as a whole, they're not mad at real Christianity. They're mad at fake Christianity. They're mad at people who call themselves Christian and either they're completely lying, like they don't live the life at all, maybe kind of like the Easter Christmas Christianity, or maybe it's a Christianity that's solely based on tradition with no heart. Maybe it's just people who just take aspects of Christianity and twist them to fit their own benefit. But generally speaking, as a whole, it's not that people hate real Christianity. That being said, real Christians can hurt people. Because not everyone that hurts people, with the title of Christianity, some of them, again, are false, but not every one of them are. Very real Christians still manage to hurt people. Like we're flawed, we're human, and so we hurt people. Hopefully not intentionally. If it's intentionally, that's a whole different conversation. But even accidentally. And actually, you know what? Even now that I say that, we have moments of weakness. So even intentionally, we hurt people. And that is still another conversation. But just because we call ourselves real Christians doesn't mean that if someone is hurt by us, that it's on them. There's an aspect that's on us. We are trying to do the right thing, hopefully. We're trying to do the right thing. But there's that quote that I guess some people try to ascribe to Scripture, which it's not, is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So that you can try to do something and still hurt people along the way. And so we were going to talk today about what happens when the inside doesn't match the outside. So starting off in Luke chapter 11, verse 37 to 40, when Jesus had finished speaking, a Pharisee invited him to eat with him. So he went in and reclined at the table. But the Pharisee was surprised when he noticed that Jesus did not first wash before the meal. And I'm actually going to pause right there real quick. I think we've talked about the Pharisees enough that I can just do kind of a quick reminder that the Pharisees are religious leaders, but what ended up usually happening with them is they were so focused on tradition, they got away from heart and were just kind of judging people based on those traditions. They weren't trying to get them closer to God, they were just saying, you're not doing what we do, and that's it. And so, yes, there's a hygiene thing about washing before a meal, but that wasn't the Pharisee's intention right here. He wasn't trying to tell Jesus how to, socially distance or anything like that, or, how to wash your hands for 20 seconds or anything, 20, 30 seconds. He was just saying, you're not doing these traditions that we're used to doing, which means you're wrong. So that was kind of his big thing. And then, so it continues in verse 39. Then the Lord said to him, now then, you Pharisees, clean out the outside of the dish. You clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You foolish people, did not the one who made the outside make the inside also? One of the experts in the law answered him, Teacher, when you say these things, you insult us also. Sorry, I skipped a little ahead to verse 45 for that one. So it's interesting, so Jesus says these things to the Pharisees, and he starts listing off all these different, woe to you Pharisees about different things. And if I have time, I'll go into them a little more. But he starts commenting on things that the Pharisees do where there's all this stuff put into the action, but there's not the heart behind it. There's no care for people. There's no bringing people closer to God. There's just, you're not doing what we think you're supposed to be doing. It was all focused on the action. And so when Jesus calls him out on it, how does this Pharisee respond? When you say these things, you insult us. He's hurt. He's just insulted by Jesus correcting him. And so how do we feel when we're criticized? When someone tells us we're doing something wrong, are we typically really excited about it? And let me just be clear, for this particular example, when we're criticized, I'm not talking about constructive criticism. I'm just talking when someone's kind of mean to us. They're not actually trying to help us, they're just trying to show that they're better than us. How do we feel? Are we excited to hear that? Does that make us feel good? Yes, I am trash. Thank you for telling me. That's not designed to make us feel good. Again, constructive criticism can go either way. Some of us really enjoy constructive criticism. Some of us don't even like constructive criticism. We just somehow just want to just be constructive. Can we get rid of the criticism and just constructive? Can we do that? But regardless of whether it's constructive criticism or let's just say mean criticism, that can be hard for us to take because basically we're being told we're doing something wrong. And as people, as disciples who spend our whole lives trying to do the right thing, being told that we're doing something wrong really stings. It's I am trying in my entire life, my whole waking life, I am trying to do it right. And you're picking this, we think this one thing I'm doing wrong, and you're poking at it, and you're telling me I'm doing it wrong. And we can feel angry and offended and embarrassed. And so what happens then is we're also less likely to hear and listen. Sometimes, so in constructive criticism, there is something there to help us grow. Sometimes even in just negative criticism, there's still sometimes something in there for us to grow. There's a whole lot of criticism out there, so I can't say that every single little negative criticism that someone has on people, that it's all of it, 100% could be used to build someone up. But more often than not, when there's a criticism, there's a little bit of truth in there. It may be 1 or 2%, and it's just covered by a whole lot of just negativity. But there's something in there that we maybe need to learn. There's a TV show called Ted Lasso. That's hilarious. It's on Apple Plus. It just as a disclaimer, it is kind of adult content, so don't just be jumping. This is not like a religious thing or whatever. But the character of Ted Lasso is just ridiculously positive and wants to see the best in people. And in fact, I want to have a Ted Lasso comment every time I preach, but I want to say I'm trying to get him to watch it. But there's a lot in there, to the point where there's videos and articles now about leadership lessons from Ted Lasso. And so in this particular instance that I'm referring to, Ted is dealing with somebody who's angry with him, that has hurt him. And he says to him in this moment of just emotion between two characters, "Oh, come on, man, you're mad as heck at me. I just want to know why, huh? What have I got to learn here?" That's his response to someone criticizing him, to being angry at him, someone who has wronged him at this point. And his response is, "What do I need to learn here?" It can be very easy to respond harshly when we're hurt, either quietly, just kind of to ourselves, or hurt the person back who criticized us. Even if they're 100% wrong, we have an opportunity to learn about patience and forgiveness and compassion. We have an opportunity to be able to grow. Again, even if everything they said was wrong, their motivation was wrong, their comment was wrong, we have an opportunity to learn how to respond to that, how to respond to a hurtful situation. Because here's the thing, is there are a lot of hurtful situations in this world. It is both a joke and a very serious thing about how toxic online and social media and comments, like, it kind of used to be a joke, and now it's very much a serious thing. Like, there are repercussions beyond just hurt feelings for comment sections on like YouTube or anything. Like, people go out of their way to hurt one another. There's no way at this point to avoid those kind of confrontations unless you kind of figure out that whole isolate yourself from the world thing and still be a disciple. But again, I haven't figured it out, so you won't either. So there's always going to be opportunities where we get hurt, we hurt people we love get hurt. And here's an interesting one. People we don't like get hurt. How do we respond to that? Do we get excited like, "Ha, take that, you deserve it"? Maybe they do, maybe. But what do you deserve? What do we all deserve? I've said it before, and I originally said it as a joke, but I stand by it a lot more now, that the world is unfair, because if the world was fair, we'd be going to hell. But the world, thankfully, is unfair. The world is unfair. People are going to get hurt who don't deserve it. People who deserve it may not get hurt. But how do we respond in those situations? Do we act like Jesus? Do we love people? Do we want to help people to grow? Do we allow ourselves to grow? Kurt talked about last week. So, quick little side story. Normally, when I preach, I try to watch the sermon from the week before just to try to make a little bit of a connection. But because of my forgetfulness, I did not get the SD cards to Russ. So he did not get to upload them. So I did not get to watch the video from last week. But in my going in and out of the auditorium, I think I recall Kurt talking about letting your light shine. That's Luke chapter 11, verse 36. "Therefore, if your whole body is full of light and no part of it is dark, it will be just as full of light as when a lamp shines its light on you." So he talked about letting your light shine. And in the same way, we can show people that a dirty cup can become clean, because our cups are dirty. No matter how it's presented on the outside, no matter how clean the outside of the cup is, the inside is dirty. And what does it matter how clean the cup is on the outside if the cup is dirty on the inside? How many of you would take a fancy, beautiful cup that's just gross and hasn't been washed in like a month? How many of you are going to drink from that? Hopefully no one. But there's a way to be able to clean the cup. We have things at our disposal. We have the Bible. The Bible can be like the sponge to clean it. We have Jesus' blood can be the dish soap. And then we have water, which is very easily baptism. Where does that leave us? We can be the drying rack to support that cup as it dries out and then gets used. I will say, it's an odd metaphor, but I was really proud of it when I came up with it in the moment, because I came up with all of it in about 10 seconds, and it seemed really neat. But we're able to be cleaned because we have Jesus. We have one another. We're able to be cleaned, and we should be. We're meant to be used. We're not meant to be sitting on a display. We're not meant to be sitting in a cabinet. We're meant to be used. We're meant to be out there. We're meant to be with people, whether it's people that we're reaching out to, whether it's one another. We're meant to be around people. But it can be difficult. It can be intimidating to really show who we are. We always talk about teenagers trying to figure out who they are in high school and in college and all that. Bad news, I was still trying to figure that out in my 30s. So it's not necessarily like, you see. So just fair warning, it's not like you get through college like, yes, got it, I know who I am. Some people, yep, they can, honestly, some people can figure that out when they are in high school or before, and kudos to them. I was super not one of them. But one of the things that I felt that I was able to grow in was job interviews. Job interviews are fairly intimidating because I don't know if you would qualify that as public speaking, but like you are talking to someone that you may not be familiar with, and depending on the job, you might be talking to multiple people that you're not familiar with. And you're really kind of like under the spotlight, which again, some people shine in that. I think the average person's like, oh, just stop looking at me. And so job interviews used to terrify me a little bit. And admittedly, I got into the workforce fairly late. I think the average, I think normally you expect people to start getting a job in high school. Mine was later in college. And it was one of the things that already I kind of felt behind, like, I feel like I should know how to do job interviews already. But I don't know. And I kind of stumbled through it, and it was, luckily I had a reference from a friend, and honestly, it was not, when I say sketchy, I don't mean like illegal, but it was a job where they weren't trying very hard. Like I was a security guard, and the uniform they gave me had this like huge green marker stain on it. It's like, oh, so this is the level of professionalism I need to expect. Got it. And so job interviews can be very intimidating, and they used to intimidate me. And even if you feel confident in your own abilities, like you can have a really bad job interviewer, whether they're having a bad day or they're just someone that should not be an interviewer. So there's a lot of ways that can go sideways. And one day, I really wish I knew when. I can't even remember the era of my life that it was. I kind of determined my life by where I was living at the time. So there's Southern California, which even that is split up in between San Diego and Orange County. There was New Orleans, there was Charlotte, and then now there's Philly, and then there's Lehigh Valley. And so I genuinely don't remember when this one was, whether it was, I'm almost positive it was either New Orleans or Charlotte, but there's a slight chance that it was up here too. And I just kind of realized, like, I want to stop trying to present what I think these people want. I had done that in my personal life where I would assume what people wanted in a friend or someone in their circle, and I would present that as who I was. And it's really hard to keep that up. I remember one of the examples I will always remember is a friend of mine said they didn't like No Doubt, the band No Doubt, ska band. Gwen Stefani's band for the younger generation. And as a person from Southern California, I was a big fan of No Doubt. We literally were like 4 zip codes apart, very, very nearby. And so I was a big fan of No Doubt. But after hearing that this person didn't like them, I didn't say that I hated them. I just was like, all right, not a big deal, whatever. Just wouldn't bring it up anymore. And just little examples like that of just not being true to who I was, just presenting someone else. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to pretend to be someone else. Like, I'm not an actor, but like that seems like a lot of work to just inhabit someone else for just even a little while. So to do that just in my whole life is just a lot of work. And so one day, I decided that my goal was not to impress an interviewer, but to just show them who I am. Like, I'm not going to go in there and do a bad job. Like, that's not what I mean by don't impress them. But I want to show them who I am and why I can help them. Now, realistically, whatever job I applied for, it's not necessarily that I am the best candidate for the job. There may be someone else, whether they're applying to the job or not. There's probably someone out there who's better. But my goal with every job was to show them that I can make this place better. There's skills I can learn. There are things I can learn about the job that maybe I don't know. But I, as a worker with integrity, with a good work ethic, with a desire to improve things, I can make this place better. And again, whenever that moment was, whatever job it was, since then, I have believed that every job interview I go on, I can make that place better. And you got to be kind of careful with this, because I also encourage people, dependent on personality, that to not be disappointed necessarily by not getting a job, because if you can truly make that place better, then if anything, it's their loss by not being able to employ you. If you can do that good of a job to make it better, and that's how I always felt. If I didn't get a job, like it's their loss, because I could have made that place better. And that's always been my goal since then, is whenever I leave a job, it's going to be better when I leave than when I got there. And it made the interview process a lot easier. Now, I didn't get every job that I interviewed for, but the process itself was just a lot more relaxed. I wasn't stressing out as much beforehand. Again, because I'm not a big social person anyway, so just talking to people is hard in and of itself. But as far as the job and like, I'm trying to get you to like me aspect, it was no longer that. It was, here's who I am. If you think I'm a good fit here, great. I promise you I can make this place better. But if we're not a good fit, then that's okay. And it wasn't a reflection on me. It didn't make me any lesser of a person by not getting the job. It just meant that I wasn't the fit. You know, I do have a dad story. How about that? Sam has been getting to the point where he's putting little shapes. My toddler Sam, is he a toddler at that age? He is toddling. He is physically toddling, so we'll call him a toddler. You know, he's at that stage where he's trying to put shapes in this shaped hole, like circle in the circle hole, X in the X hole, or what have you. He's trying to put it in there. And, you know, sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't. And so just because the circle hole can't go in the square hole doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the circle. It's just not supposed to go in there. So just because we're not the right fit for a place, it's not a reflection on us. It just means we're not a right fit for that. We may not be the best disciples. We may not be the best Christians. But if you're living a Christ-like life, you can make someone's life better. And you may not be the right person to reach out to everyone. That's okay. But part of it is you kind of got to try. Like, Sam doesn't automatically know which pieces go in which hole. He's got to figure it out, and he's still figuring it out. So likewise, we don't necessarily know. We can't look at a person and be like, that's someone that I can help. Absolutely. Like someone else, like, nope, no chance. Like, that's not for me. We don't know. We have to try. Because again, we may not be the best, but we can still do it. We can get someone started. We can get someone thinking. You know, we can start showing that light to someone. In Luke chapter 11, verse 52, so it's kind of ending all these woes that Jesus was talking about. It says, "Woe to you, the experts in the law, because you have taken away the key to knowledge. You yourselves have not entered, and you have hindered those who were entering." We actively impact people. We passively impact people. We impact our circle. We impact strangers. You may have a lifetime to impact people. You may have only one short interaction. You know, cups can get dirty, either from use or just from sitting around gathering dust. You know, if you have a dish or something that's, you know, you only break out for, you know, some fancy event or whatever, it sits in the closet for a while. When you break it out, you might need to wash it at least once through. Maybe it's like covered and super sterilized or something, but for the most part, it's just sitting in the closet and might need to get washed. We need to go out there and be used. That's our function. We need to go out, whatever stage our cup is in. It needs to get, whether it needs to get washed, whether it needs to get used and shown, we're designed to be used. We need to go out and be used. We need to go out and impact people. we need to not be so caught up in our own righteousness sometimes, which can be very easy to get to, because we talk about sinners, we talk about what people are doing wrong so often. It can be easy to be here and be like, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that. Which is true, you're not, and that's great. But you were doing that. You could be doing that. Maybe, in fact, you are doing that. We're not so far removed, no matter how long we've been a disciple, from a month to a decade to multiple decades, we're realistically not that far removed from someone who's just sinning on a daily basis without a care in the world. We're not that far removed from that. And it can be easiest for us to act that way, so we get really comfortable in our circle, and we can joke and make light of the lives that other people are living. But what are we doing to help them when we're able to? It's honestly not unlike if you see somebody trip on steps. Do you sit there and laugh? Or do you go and help? People are in need of help. We are here to help people. We're here to be an example, but we're not here to be better than people. In fact, we're here because we're not better than anyone, because we needed Jesus as much as anybody else. We're not better than anyone. We are here to help. We are here to be used. We're here to be seen. So as we conclude today, just as a reminder, we're going to get dirty, regardless of what happens. We're going to get hurt, regardless of what happens. When we interact with people, hurt is on the horizon. That's just what's going to happen. But how do we respond to that? How do we help ourselves to grow? How do we help other people to grow? We remember the love that was shown to us. We remember the grace that was shown to us. We remember that anyone that we interact with, no matter how sinful or whatever, that they are just a reflection of us. They are living our lives without Christ. And we didn't earn Christ. We didn't earn that love. We didn't earn Jesus' death on the cross. He gave it to us freely. So we're not that separate from them. So as we go out into the world, show people who you are. Be comfortable with who you are. Yes, we all need to grow and improve, and that's okay. We're never done growing. We're never done getting better. We're like tech. We're always improving. We're always improving. And there's always something wrong with us. We are tech. I literally just thought of this, so just bear with me. We're always trying to improve ourselves. Some of that improvement is needless and moot, but we're always trying to improve ourselves and make ourselves better. Other people are trying to do that too. Most people are there's probably the occasional person that is out there like, I'm good. But most people are trying to get better. And they hurt people along the way, but they're trying to get better. So let's have that grace. Let's not be the teachers of the law. Let's not be the Pharisees who go out and just judge and forget where they came from, forget who they are. But let's remember who we are. Let's remember that Jesus died for us and love one another. I do have one final dad joke to close out. And I'm sorry in advance. What did one disciple say to another disciple when they passed a carnival full of hypocrites? Is that a fair I see? Worship, you can go ahead and come on up.